we brought on David Barron. He's amazing. And we brought on Thomas Maurer doing our letters and production, and he knows the alphabet and he's perfect at it. So, you know,
he's fantastic. No, he is fantastic. You get one joke a day. That was it. No more.
Well, that's not really a joke. I mean, he does know the alphabet, and he's great at it.
Oh man, I cannot wait to see those variant covers. It's gonna be awesome. You guys got me all excited, man. So, you know, I found, like, you know, when I was like reading about, you know, the storyline and, you know, going through the first issue, the idea of like John's subconscious kind of conspiring to keep him trapped, you know, within like his imagination in this world. I found that so interesting, and kind of the fact that almost like maybe he's his own worst enemy, maybe kind of was interesting. And so I was wondering maybe if you could expound just a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, aren't we all though our own worst enemies, right? Don't we never get out of our own ways? You know, I don't know, I can't speak to you, but definitely I grew up going to Catholic school, and I'm not like very religious, but it definitely like that like Catholic guilt is like ground into you, you know. So it's always self-deprecation.
Catholic, so I know.
So you get it. It's always that like self-deprecation and self-flagellation, you know. So it's like it's you know, and it's a story about, you know, it's a story about regret and mistakes and redemption, and so it's, you know, and it's very and guilt. A lot of, I mean, you read the first issue. As soon as you open that book, page 1, you're like, oh, we're here now. Okay. You know, and so it's about coming back from that. You know, it's about, I mean, it's about a lot of stuff, but you know, it really, at the heart of it is, you know, it's a story of introspection. And I would think that, you know, being trapped inside your own mind is, you know, a perfect setting for that. To tell a story about that.
It was amazing, and I really liked kind of how it started so dark, and then it went to this really colorful world. I really liked that. It was very interesting.
That was both because of John and his inks, and it really gave it like all of this grit and all of this weight, and it really gave us that noir feel. But then, you know, but with Dave, it's like I was like, go bright, go colorful, but you know, the flashback pages have to be, the gutters and borders have to be in black, so we know, and there's a distinct language. But then the regular gutters and borders, when we're in Slow City, are white, and everything is very vibrant, you know, and it's almost that like Adventure Time kind of color palette. So we got to like have our cake and eat it too. You get your fun, crazy Roger Rabbit adventure, but then you still get that dark, gritty, like Maltese Falcon, Chinatown, noir vibe, you know, because of John and Sean, you know, and then Sean obviously did a lot of the heavy lifting, but it like the vibe, the feels is John and Dave.
Yeah, Sean did all the heavy lifting, where he throws everything down on the board. Yep. And then my job is to pull it all out and make it very visible and enjoyable for you, the reader. So, and then Dave comes in and enhances everything, you know, so it's just like, boom.
And then, you know, that actually kind of goes into one of my questions that I was going to ask, like, you know, when you're, you know, creating, you know, a project like this, like, how do you decide what type of artwork that you want, you know, because like, obviously you see like some books have different styles, you know, and some are maybe more cartoony, some are more real, very real, you know, or gritty. And so like, how do you decide on this one, on this particular style?
That's a John question.
We had gone, you know, we had gone in the beginning, you know, we had this person and then we changed and had different. So we were going through a couple guys, and when we landed on Sean, and then I decided I was going to ink it, we definitely took a very gritty tone that I threw down with the textures and rendering to complement what he had given me. But also, it was very different compared to the other books I've done, say from Marvel or DC or Image or any of the companies, where I was doing, since there was so many characters, so many different characters that weren't human, I was doing a little bit of a cartoony-ish line on certain spots that I generally wouldn't get to do in a regular, you know, capes and tights kind of rock'em sock'em book. So it was a little different for me. And once I got in the mindset of like, for Moof, it took me a while to figure out how I was going to render his fur, because I knew Sam was going to have another character come out later who was going to, characters were
so many hairy characters
with a different fur. So once I found the nib because I use a dip quill. I dip a quill in an ink jar. I found this very, very old quill that my friend Ryan went in given me, and I still had it. It was in this yellow pen holder, and I started just going, and it was working. So I did this very blunt, like gruff, short hair, and it looked very just dirty and almost like that splash page where he shows up in that first issue where he's leaning at the bar with a smirk. It almost looks like he can touch that left arm of his. Like it's very, it really stands out.
Yeah, it was awesome, you know, and like I said, I really like the style, you know, of the artwork and stuff, you know. So obviously we all have our opinions of which ones we like, but I really liked how this one was.
Yeah, the Flytrap guys were very cool once I figured out what to do with them, and they showed up on a lot of panels for a bunch of pages. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm doing, and I have to really like it because it's just here and here and here and here and here and here. So, but they came out very cool.
I know, I love how he pulls out the giant shears, you know. It was great.
It's always that like bag of, you know, that Mary Poppins Dungeons and Dragons bag of holding, bag of necessity. Like you always get what you need, you never get what you want.
Yeah. You know? It's true, man. You know, with the story, you know, that, you know, it deals with enlightenment, happiness, salvation, you know, and all that, and, you know, him becoming a better person. Yeah. And do you think that, like, you know, that message and that kind of, you know, I guess message going forward to people is in comics is a good way to kind of get it across to people, where it's not threatening, it's not like people feel like they're being like preached to or anything like that?
That was a huge concern, you know, because it's especially like no one likes to be talked at. You should talk to people instead and not at people, and most people don't even like to be talked to, because it's like, I didn't sign up for a TED Talk. I didn't sign up for a masterclass. I came here to read a butt-kicking comic about skunks and explosions and weird wild creatures, right? And so it's one of those things. I try to call it the a candy-coated Trojan horse, right? You always want to like, I related to the 40-year-old version, right? So the 40-year-old version, we all know, we all love. It's hilarious. It's it's about dicks and sex and you know and booze and Kelly Clarkson. But like underneath it all, it's this really touching story about intimacy, you know. And so that's what it, you know, like you go and you're like, oh, this is hilarious, and then later on you leave the theater watching it streaming, you're like, oh yeah, you know. And that's how this should be. Like, I'm not here to preach at you, you know, like this was a great story for me to tell, like as a straight cis white guy, like learning my place in the world. And you know, and it definitely has changed. Like, you know, we've all grown, the world has changed, turned upside down for the better, I think. And it was kind of like that 10 years was pretty pivotal. And, you know, so it was like almost like me being able to reflect upon my own growth in an exaggerated, dramatic, turned up to 11 kind of way of like how I was like becoming, hopefully becoming a better human, a better man, a better person, you know. And hopefully people, you know, I think that I'd like to think that people will see that authenticity, and then that was, you know, that even for all of John's flaws, because to err is human. People will find something authentic there and real, and even though it's this crazy kooky comic book, there's, you know, there's a thread of truth. And so that, you know, hopefully we can then, like, that's what pulls us along for this ride.
That's great, you know, and especially what you just mentioned of, you know, just like how, you know, society, everything's been changing, everything, you know, it's just been, you know, moving forward, moving backwards, sideways, everywhere. You know, that with this story, it seems like, you know, especially today, you know, not getting political or anything, but that everyone's pointing fingers at each other, it seems, you know, and everyone's blaming other people for everything, you know, no matter what side of the aisle you're on. And, you know, do you hope that like Slow City Blues kind of gently kind of prods maybe and tells people, like, maybe, you know, instead of pointing at other people, maybe you should look at yourself a little bit first, maybe?
It's the old Catholic adage, when you point, people are going to be like, oh, okay, it's a Catholic book. I swear to God, it's not a Catholic book. I just so ground into your head. It's that old Catholic adage, you point one finger at somebody else, you got three pointing back at you. You know, this book, yes, it's about it's about imperfect allies. It's about, it's about empathy. It's about introspection. It's like the world is very different, and we don't let anybody make any mistakes anymore. It's very much a one strike policy. Sometimes it absolutely should be a one strike policy, but we live on this very, this very wide gray spectrum, and so it's like, hopefully we do, and it comes across in a nuanced enough way, throughout the story, throughout the series, that it's where take a look at yourself, and then also maybe treat others, or react to others as you would hope that they would give you the benefit of the doubt, or give you the kindness. It really also speaks to the fact that we brought my story consultant, Artisha Man Cooper, in afterward, to make sure that the world was clear, the message was on point, the themes were crystal, and that our impact matched our intent. So it's like we wanted to make sure that we were being responsible. If we were going to talk about something and open our mouths and put something out into the world, we wanted to make sure that it was responsibly told, because I think there's you can be inadvertent, you can do inadvertent damage, and that's with the best of intent. So I think it's important to try to connect authentically and responsibly.
Yeah, I agree. That's great.
See something cool?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Oh, here we go.
We can show this now.
Well, yeah.
Oh man,
that's the Paul Pope original that he bought and then didn't tell me he bought.
Oh man, I love
one day
that.
he's like, "Oh, hey, look."
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely. He's so just no one draws like him. He's amazing and so unique, and it was very incredibly generous that he took time out of his schedule to do this. And again, I will say probably it's one of his best pieces in the last 2 years.
Man, that is amazing. I love that. Oh, I love it in black and white too.
Yep,
that's right.
The colors look amazing. Dave did a great job on it.
Oh man, no, I'm actually glad you guys brought up the characters, because that was actually a question I had too. That one thing that I loved so much about this first issue is I loved how bonkers and crazy it was. That I love that. That just immediately it's like fly trap people are coming out. Great. And so it's like, how did you decide, how far was too far and how far wasn't far enough when it came to the story and the characters?
I think it's a mix between Sean and I, and even Dave slipped in some characters in that big double page spread with the bar, where it was like, that wasn't that's new in the background. He has an ape in an Abraham Lincoln costume. I was like, is that Abraham Lincoln in the back? He's like, yeah, I just put it in there. There was one little Easter egg that David put in there that I didn't notice right away. He had to actually tell me, because there's a nod to The Shining. And, in issue 4. Yeah. I was like, so it was very subtle, but once you notice it, it's really noticeable. But I was looking, I was like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there's some carpeting in issue 4 where you're like, this feels very distinct. And it's like, oh, it's that carpeting, which is cool, because it speaks to your question of anything and everything. I think that you've seen it in the first issue. This book is so referential, and it skirts that line of we're hopefully not going to get sued, but it's everything and anything's in there. It's whatever he read or consumed as a kid, whatever he read to his own son, it's it's all in. It's his imagination, and so it's we couldn't, if there's a line of oh, this is too much, or oh, this is we can't do that, or this is too far, we haven't reached it yet, which is exciting, because it's there's so much more to go, and it gives us this infinite runway to play in.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, and a question for you, John, as an artist and sitting down, to create this project, what is the first thing that you do, before you've done anything else, when you're day 1, hour 1, minute 1 of working on this? What is your first thing?
You mean like what I do day to day?
Like, you know, like when the project, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to be, you know, designing this, I'm going to be, you know, doing all this, like what is the first thing you do when you sit down to work on it?
Well, Sean and Sam did most of the character looks, and then I had, you know, just a tidbit here and there. I think, oh, maybe that's what it was. They did most of that. I just gave it the more distinctive look when I jumped in and started doing the rendering. So I'm pretty sure the very first page I started on was page 12 of issue 1. That was the first one I started, right when he reaches in his jacket, he's got that look on his face.
Oh,
like
yeah.
this. And weirdly enough, like I was like, all right, let's try this. It was like the first handful of pages, you know, and I hadn't worked over Sean in a long time. So usually like an inker, and this is my experience, when you're working over a new guy, you need a few pages or a bunch of pages to let it sink in of how this is going to go. And it was weird, like that jacket I did in that panel where he's reaching in, I was like, wow, it came out pretty neat. And like I had it all roughed up and everything. So it's just kind of just moving along with that. And, you know, I had a more day-to-day, I was working at night. So I kind of, you know, we just had a daughter. And so I was, you know, doing all this stuff with the baby all morning and afternoon. And then I'm just staying up all night, like trying to work. And there's only a handful of times I just actually fell asleep on a table, like around midnight or 12:30. I was like, oh, I gotta wake up. But I just go in the kitchen and inhale like a bunch of her Cheerios to stay awake for the next 3 hours. And, you know, then my wife would be complaining, like, you know, I wouldn't get to bed till 3 or 4 or 5:30 in the morning. And she's like, what are you doing? I was like, look, I go, no one else is going to ink these. I got to get done. So it was definitely very different doing it with a newborn. So, you know, it was a different challenge I had to get used to. That was not anything I had done before. So
he
usually
wouldn't take any of the drugs I gave him. So to get him loopy,
yeah,
he just had to stay up until he was delirious.
No, this is all natural. No, none of that.
No psychedelics.
No. So there was only a couple times when I did fall asleep, my pen kept moving. And you know, that's why they have whiteout. So it was fine. It wasn't over anyone's face or an eyeball, which is the worst. Like if you screw up an eyeball, it's like, oh my God. So I was like, all right, I gotta stand up, and you know, it was all good. You'll never be able to tell.
Or will you?
No, you don't know.
Yeah.
No,
you don't know that I don't know. Maybe I'm just being nice to you. I'm not being nice to him. I'm never nice to him.
Now I know you guys can't go into too much detail with story wise, you know, obviously because we want, you know, some surprises and stuff. But
yeah,
you know, kind of as you know, as I was approaching, you know, the end of the first issue and stuff, you know, I liked the meta element of, you know, when Moof was telling him basically, you know, this is your world, kind of, why are you going to sleep? You know, why are you fighting these guys? You can just, you know, basically speak them out of existence, whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so I was like, I thought that was very interesting, but then I thought it was even more interesting when I got to the end, you know, when you kind of get to the, maybe you could say the after credit scene, maybe, you know, the two lovers, you know, and then, you know, basically, you know, they explode kind of. And so it was kind of like, you know, would you say it's safe to say maybe that kind of the rules of his world maybe are changing because he wasn't involved in that scene? And so it kind of made me think, oh, is there more going on here than what's being let on?
It's a, like when you're telling a noir story, right? There's the three ways to do it, where it's like the audience doesn't know what the detective, you know, the detective knows what the audience doesn't know, the audience knows what the detective doesn't know, and so it was like just to find that balance. But you know, it's like really times are changing in the world, and like things have been set into motion, you know, where he overall we're going to see him either succeed or fail in a major way, and I think that scene, which is then the inciting incident to this particular mystery, is not only, that's such a great catch that you had. It was not only the kind of the kickoff moment for this story arc, but then like the good first like movement in the series as a whole. So definitely times are a changing.
Well, one good thing to add on what you had brought up about all the stuff in the first issue is that all the fans will be very happy. The first issue is just about double size. The second issue is double sized, and then issues 3 and 4 are normal size. Then issue 5 is just a little over regular size. So. And all 5 issues everything is completely all done. And we're, since we are now with this great new place, Zoop, all 5 issues are going to get dropped right away. We're going to do a season 1 drop. So you do not have to wait to finish the story. Literally everything is done.
Grab it all at once.
That's awesome. Oh man, I'm glad you mentioned Zoop, because I was going to ask you guys about that. So I'm not familiar with that distribution center, but it sounded very cool in like the press release that I got, and I was like, oh, this is really cool for creators and such.
This is the newest. We're the newest thing out of the gate, and we're with them because they're going to be very big and very, very pro friendly for comic professionals, and even extra better for the fans. So Sam can tell you his version. It's much better than mine.
You're gonna stick me with the spiel.
You know what to say it better than me.
All right. I'll give you the spiel. No, they are like John said, they're absolutely fantastic for both creators and the consumers. At least on our side of things, they are a curated, soup to nuts, turnkey concierge service that handles everything from the fundraising and the campaign, to the marketing, to the fulfillment, to the distribution, to the long tail sales afterwards.
The printing.
They take
the printing.
The printing, the fulfillment, So they take care of everything, I say that Zoop takes the ow out of crowdfunding, right? Because it's always such a pain. On the consumer side, though, I don't know. I'm glad that we get to be the first one out the gate to be a part of this, because they make it Amazon Prime easy. It's literally whatever you want. There's no scrolling. There's no 10,000 on the side and you're going, and it's like running a marathon with your fingers trying to scroll down all the tiers. It's like a shop. It's click on whatever you want, as many as you want. There's no after campaign backer kit. You can do all the add-ons. You don't have to have your credit card, your wife's credit card, your dog's credit card to buy all the exclusive things that you may, multiple copies that you may want. You can just get anything and everything all in one go. And it's so easy. And, they're the people that ran point on Scott Snyder's Noctera. And they're the ones who ran Keanu's Berserker campaign. So it's like these guys and gals know exactly what they are doing. So there's so little risk, and they have everything sorted out, and they've been absolutely fantastic. And I literally just saw our campaign proper page on a Zoom earlier today, and it looks fantastic. I guess since this comes out on the 7th, you can check it out now and see how easy it is. But it's rad, man. It's really a trip to see something that is so revolutionary, but it's the best parts of everything and none of the junk of the rest of it.
That's very cool.
Since I've been such a long time comic fan and almost as equally long time major collector, all of this stuff I picked out, or we put together for the products.
He curated everything. So
the items we have are very, very nice looking. We don't have a lot. I made sure the few items we have are incredibly cool. Collectors and fans will like them. We have floppies, which will be in a really nice slipcase. So you can get it's the season 1 drop. So you can get slipcase A with all the regular covers, and then slipcase B with all the variants. And we're gonna have a really sharp looking hardcover. And I as much as I like original art, we're gonna have a few pages for sale from that, and even prints. Everybody loves getting a print, so we made sure to turn that up to 11. So you'll be able to get this awesome looking portfolio, hardcover, very hard board portfolio that opens up with a print of every cover inside.
That's awesome.
It's rad.
It's John, very sharp looking.
John was very picky about it. Again, it's that whole I'm just going to backseat artist, so let me do it. Where it's I'm just going to be a backseat collector, so let me curate.
And I had to do that because
did a fantastic job.
if I was going to go and want to buy this, and I know how picky I am with buying I go to the comic shop every Wednesday. I always do. And I'm buying this variant cover, and that one's a little like that one's a $30 cover. Like, I think, yeah, I'll get that one. That one's super cool. So I wanted to do it. I know how much it is for everybody to go to shop every Wednesday and spend your hard-earned money on comics, and these will be really cool looking. And again, that was my idea behind the cover artist. If you're putting down your couple bucks for these issues, I want to make sure you are getting your money's worth. And everything. We're having a great early bird special for the first 2 days of the campaign. So
these 2 days,
the first 2 days, there'll be some discounts on some items, and a couple items you can only get these 2 days. That
only
is
for I mean, we can talk about it. I want to just let me tell you about them. We're doing a black. So Dave Finch did a cover for us. So rad. We are doing a black. Oh, John's going to show it because of course he has all of that. Of course he has it.
Oh,
there it is.
Man. Oh, I love that.
It's fantastic.
Awesome.
So we're doing that. It's a black and white virgin cover of issue 1. And then we're doing, Doug Monkey did a cover for us, and we're doing a black and white exclusive hardcover of the Doug cover for that. And it's only for those first 48 hours. Like that's the only time you can get them, and then literally never again.
Okay.
Because again, John wanted to make sure when you plop down your hard-earned cash, you get your money.
I know how it is, man. I've been going to the comic shop every week since I started 2nd grade. So, even when my dad was too tired to drive me after he got home from work, back when comics came out on every Friday, I sit there and ride my bike up to the shop, and it was not close. It is shocking my folks let me ride my bike by myself to go to that store. It was
13 miles each way uphill both times.
It was a good hour. It was a good hour straight just biking, and I was young. I was like, you guys have to do that. I go, it was great, but it still was crazy.
There's something fun about going to the comic book store. It's like, they have the apps for them all now and everything, but it's not the same,
Yeah.
No, it's not. And that's the other big thing. We have, comic shops are the best thing. And, and I've been going on so long. I've gone to countless different stores, and they helped give me my career. They're the ones ordering the books I do. They've been very, very generous. I've been very fortunate to have steady work forever and work on huge titles that have sold well. And that's only because of the shops being very generous with their ordering. So we came up with a retailer tier so all the shops can be involved, and we have an exclusive variant retail cover, which they can only get for their shops. And cool. It looks great. Yeah. It's a real, I hadn't seen the colors for it right away. Oddly enough, I could not get in my own Dropbox. So it took a long time for me to see it, and it looks great. I mean, the blue on the cover against the white logo, you can literally see it across the shop. It's so standoutish. It's great.
Oh man, that's really cool.
And that one was done by the awesome Ray.
We're gonna leave
that wasn't one. There? All right, well,
blur that but we're gonna leave that one. You gotta go to the store.
Yeah, blur that out. So.
Oh, that's true. Because collecting those variant covers is always cool. Because I was getting my ones of the recent Zack Snyder's Justice League variant covers that they had. And I was like, I want to get all of those. So that's cool, man. Well, kind of as we get to the end of my questions, I did have one thing that I kind of wanted to ask you guys that because obviously you guys have been in the comic world and stuff. Do you have any like specific like influences that you have of like of authors, artists, specific series or books that you feel are kind of influences for your work?
I'll go first because I'm sure my list is much shorter than John's. Like I said, a huge Bill Willingham fan. Brian K. Vaughan, you lift from the best, so it's like the way that he like lays out his books, phenomenal. Like there's like a way to do it, McFarlane, when he like slows, like his controlling of pace is fantastic. Obviously, I was brought up by, I was mentored by Jim, so Jim, and then the way like Kirby picks his shots was like that was one of the most key lessons for me, is like knowing how to pick the best, most energetic and informative shots with, so it's like those things. But it's also like the writing style of Miller, or McGinnis or Brubaker on the side, on like the noirish side, and so it's like there's just so many great people to learn from, and and it's like if you're an artist where it's like, if you see something you like, steal it, because I guarantee you they saw it from someone they liked and they stole it from them. So it's like, and I think that's what this book is too. It's not thievery or plagiarism. It's like a pastiche and an homage of like a bunch of different things, and and like that's perfectly reflected in like in his head, and so it just kind of like opens us up to it allows me to like have this love letter to all of these creators that I'm so thankful to have gotten to like take in their content and their stories, and they have influenced me. And so it's like that thank you back to them.
Cool. It's very true.
Go ahead, John.
It's very true when it comes to that stuff. You do learn and and take advice. When I write combat for my stories, I lifted a lot of stuff from James Byron Huggins because he was a master at it. So it's like,
yes.
I would say for mine, it's definitely a lot, but since I had been, just thrown in the comics at the age of 4. I just had like just a plethora of just seeing this stuff all the time. And then when I started getting going that I was going to draw, it was right when Jim Lee and Will started, right before X-Men. So I was just at the cusp of their starting. So it was just nonstop. So the image line and line work was really just beat into my brain because it was the best. And the one probably biggest influence, which I did a little bit on Slow City, not a lot, but probably my biggest influence of just how I love the look of a book was the original Teen 7 that Aaron Weisenfeld and Scott Williams and JD did. It was, I don't know, just something hit me with it. And it's still one of my favorite books from the 90s. And I own 5 pages from it. So I lucked out and found them. And, it was just such an amazing thing. But just all that stuff. And then when I did start working, when I moved out to California, I got thrown right into working at Top Cow, right when they were super huge back then, like right after The Darkness came out. And I got to work on Darkness #6. And my roommate was Joe Weems, who is one of the best inkers, like bar none. He's like the top of the echelon. And so when we had extra tables at our condo and everybody would come work there, like Bat, another phenomenally good inker, he'd come over and work for a day or two. And I just got this super duper quick college, Harvard course of just watching them do it instead of me being at my place by myself, like, oh, gee whiz, like, let's see how I guess this is what they do. And I got so much better so quickly over that first year of me living here. It was like the best experience I could have gotten. So and then, getting to work over Silvestri, which there's no reason I should have been able to get to ink those pages, but it was a very great learning experience. The only thing I will say that I pulled from that is I was very particular at how I rendered John's hair on Artbook. And that was a very Silvestri-ish way I did it. The lines don't look as the way Mark would throw it, but I did use that look. It's just, I'm using a different pen than he uses. So it's not going to look exactly the same, but that was definitely my, Sam was very particular about Moof's face, and I was overly particular about John's hair because they were showing up in every panel. And I was so particular getting that look right. It's like just making sure. And but yeah, it's just countless influence. I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of the guys, and even working over, some of my childhood heroes were like Ron Frenz and Rick Leonardi, which was amazing. So, and like I used to really love Ron Lim when he was doing Captain America and Silver Surfer back then, and I got to do a whole bunch of his stuff. So the only 2 guys that I super duper loved when I was a kid was Kerry Gamble and Jackson Geis. And just, I don't know, I just haven't gotten a chance to do anything over them, but I used to just pour over their stuff over and over and over and over again. So it was and Ron Frenz is so fun because he's like that uncle who will just constantly tease you. So he's, you know, he really like busted my chops, but he was always like, yeah, it looks all right. But he just really, really likes to sit there and needle you, but it's all in good fun. And I loved it. I do want him to keep doing it. It was so much fun.
See, the line much longer of a list.
Yeah,
much longer.
No, I mean, I could have went out. I had a lot more, but those are the handful of guys that really just beat it into me. And you know, you only want to keep doing the best. And I was fortunate enough to be around the best people, so I was able to absorb all that information quickly.
That's cool, man. Well, and so, you know, lastly, you know, I want to, you know, I know that you've, Sam, you've done some, you know, scripts for like, you know, TV and film and stuff. And, you know, and nowadays, you know, we're seeing tons of you know, comic book adaptations and film, you know, TV, streaming, everything, you know, and do you think it's a possibility we could see Slow City Blues in that? Because when I was reading it, I was like, it's so cinematic, you know. I was like, I could see this Netflix, you know, or HBO Max or something like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that. We Hollywood Reporter talked about it, but I can talk about it even more in detail without going so much so where I'll get in trouble. We're actually really deep in development on an adult animated series for Slow City Blues.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it was like the same reason I wanted to do it as a comic book. I thought, you know, it was the same reason. I'm like, well, then if we're gonna do this, let's do it the way it should be done, which should be, you know, animation. Because it's like that's what I grew up. You know, I got a Dragon Ball tattoo. I have a One Piece tattoo. You know, or it's like I have all that. And I'm I that's what we all grew up with, and so it's like if we're gonna do it justice, let's do that. So we're deep in development on that, and then if people really dig this, and you know, and we get the chance, and this is successful, and we get the chance to do more, I have the next story arc written, which it picks up literally where this first one leaves off, and it's like, if you think that this is wild, you ain't seen nothing yet. You know, like I said, if there's a line out there that's like, oh, this is too much, we haven't found it yet, and I'm rapidly trying to find that line and like how crazy and wild we can be.
Man, that is awesome, man. Well, you know, I appreciate you guys chatting with me for this. You know, it's been a lot of fun, and information.
No, thank you.
Hell yeah.
You know? And where can our readers go to buy this series?
At wearezoop.com or zoop.gg, and then we have, John has it in the link in his Twitter bio, which is
it is the number one. It's at John Livesay.
Yeah.
Or on the Twitter or Instagram for the comic, which is at SCB Comics, plural, so with an S at the end. And then we have the link in the bio, and you can, you know, today is the 7th, right? So it's like you can go and check it out and pick it all up now and see how easy it is to get whatever you want from Zoop.
And take advantage of the early bird deals today and tomorrow.
Oh yes.
Yeah, they're very it's very nice.
Deals.
And no one will feel excluded about the price levels we have these items at. They're everyone
accessible.
I think you should like it. Yeah. They're very accessible for anybody.
We want everyone to enjoy it, you know, as many people as possible.
Definitely, yeah. And you know, I think just from what I saw, you know, with issue 1, I think you guys have a big winner on your hands, you know.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate the heck out of that. 10 years not wasted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. Like I said, thanks again, and you know, and I hope, you know, hope we can chat again, you know, when the next story arc is coming around, you know.
For sure.
I can't wait to talk to you about it and be like, oh man, you were not kidding.
Yeah.
This is nuts.
Awesome, man. All righty. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. You know, I almost said have a great weekend, man. but we're not there yet. So
hey man, you know what? Have a great weekend until we talk to you the next time.
Oh, sounds good.
All right, man. We'll catch you later. Thank you for letting us hang out with you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Good luck.
All right.